There, you have music now, right? Okay, let's test something else. I need 4 volunteers. Let's fix the beeping noises. So let's see, hang on here. Okay, that's that. Yay, music. Okay, so okay, that works. I don't need that. Yeah, I need that. Now let's do okay, the first 4 people. No, hang on. I want 3 people to go up there. And you don't have to show your face. Just make sure your camera's off. I just need you in the room. And you'll get 500 Pine points if you do it. Actually, the first one to do it gets 1,000. I don't need you to talk to me. I don't need anything. I just need your presence, like the Holy Spirit. Okay? Because last time I had people come on, but I actually didn't let them in the room. This time I'm going to let them in the room, but I'm going to hide them. And we're going to test the beeping noise if I can make it stop if the room's full -1. Come on, don't be shy now, guys. 500 Pine points for sale. All you have to do is click on that. Come in. You don't have to show your face. You don't even have to make a sound. Yeah, Myron got the boot. He's a devil in disguise. Doug, your show is in. Oh, we got people. I'm competing against Laura. Okay, so I'm gonna let in. See here that you. Hey,
there he is.
Okay, we have. Now here's the real test. I have 4 people in here right now. Oh, and it doesn't work. See?
Are we getting beeped?
Yeah, we're still getting beeped with 4 people in here. So whereby are you hearing this? This is your fault. My goodness. There's nothing I can do. Your best buddy, you look familiar, right? I've talked to you before, right?
Yeah, I just asked about your thing with how it's important that Jesus knew evolution or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, I got enough people. Guys don't have to come in now. So 500 points to Nathan, Pine points. 500 Pine points to your best buddy. 500 to Daniel. And Snake Oil, Congo, Mine Onion, and my one black friend. I have one black wife and one black friend. 500 Pine points to you. Oh, that's so funny. Okay, so now let's leave this open for theists if they want to come in. If you are a theist, you can remain. Do I have a theist here? Daniel, are you a theist? No, he's gone. But yeah, we'll keep it going as long as it doesn't get too bad. But what do I want to talk about here? What happened to me today is I was just in a live stream about the fine-tuning argument. And I got blocked because I was nice. I don't know. But tell me why I'm wrong about this. The fine-tuning argument is an argument for the existence of a God, right? It's an argument for some type of deism. And if the physical constants of the universe, our universe, could be different and still have life, then it's not finely tuned. Am I wrong? Doesn't finely tuned mean it has to be just so? But if you have the concept of an all-powerful God who could make life any way he wants, in fact, even after the fact, have the physical constants change and still have life because he's all powerful. There's no logical contradiction in that. Tell me again why this is finely tuned for life, if it can be anything. Is God subject to these constants? Does he have to make the universe a certain way in order for life to exist? Can someone explain to me why it's as simple as that? What am I missing? If there's a theist out there, or even an atheist who can steel man the other side, tell me why it's not as simple as that. And at the same time, tell me why, if you're arguing that our universe, the universe, has been finely tuned for life, tell me why, again, you would expect or wouldn't expect a god, a deity, to have more life in this universe. If 99.999% of our universe is inhospitable to life, wouldn't you expect a god to make it higher than that? I mean, more life in it? Please, someone, I'm begging for help. I've asked these questions to Luke Barnes, and it's like, what are you talking about? But it was via text, so it was very cumbersome. What am I missing? Help me. Yeah, can't sense about. That's what I'm saying. God could do anything. Okay, maybe my one black friend can help me. To Luke Barnes, and what are you? You are live. I got you muted until you turn off my YouTube. But do you want me to show your face?
Help me. Yes.
Okay, I will show your face. I guess people want proof that you're my one black friend.
Yes, that's fine. I'm going to put the headset on for better sound too.
Your sound's pretty good actually right now.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So your question about God. God would be the only constant that is necessary. So you can change the speed of light, speed of sound, but the God can't change unless it wants to.
Okay. So if I say that the finely tuned argument for God is rubbish because God could make the universe any way he wants, even change it after the fact any way he wants, and still have life, the argument is still good because what again?
Because God would be the only, God would be the only necessary constant.
See, I've choked you up. That's how good my arguments are.
No, I had an allergy. But you can claim it if you want to. So think of it this way. A river on Earth here can change course over time. It happens, right? Yeah. People get sick.
Yeah.
They die. Sometimes they recover, that sort of thing. For us, the universe isn't finely tuned. Our village needed the river to be where it was. Now it's moved on. 6 generations later, it's a mile away. So now we all have to pack up and move. It's not finely tuned for us down here. Now, I'm an atheist making this argument, but for the God, it is finely tuned because he set it up.
See, I would think it's just the opposite because it's the Christians who are saying the universe is finely tuned. And it's not for God because God could have made it any way he would want. But if you just change one little thing, like the massive electron, for example, everything goes into chaos. So they're saying, see, look, it's finely tuned for life. There must be a God. I still don't see it, though, because the massive electron could be 10 times heavier, and God could say, let there be life. And
like
there would
genie,
still, there would still be life.
Well, what's happening, I think, a lot of times is they're trying to make it fit where it doesn't fit. They want the best argument possible. And you've heard hundreds of these arguments. They're not actually good when you challenge them, when you study them, and you get the person to finally admit it. So again, you change the mass of the electron, fine if it all falls apart, but it would be something else. It would be what it is. So let's take eggs. Let's take eggs for an example. You want to have eggs for breakfast. You just got off that protein diet. You can have an egg with no further ingredients, no butter, no salt, no vegetables. And it could be delicious, right?
Well, no salt.
No salt. What if we take the same egg and we add some sauteed red onions, we add green peppers, and we add maybe some ham to it? So we started an omelet. Is it better now that it's an omelet?
Yes.
So is it more finely tuned?
For my taste buds, yes.
For your taste buds. Okay. So if the Christian says, well, the universe is finely tuned, well, if I get to be God, just give me 15 minutes. I take away sickness, disease, and poverty. I've improved it.
Yes.
So it's more finely tuned.
Yes.
So I would make a great God for a little bit, for like 15 minutes. I could pull it off. I could improve it.
Yes. In fact, God should be my one black friend.
Yeah. There you go.
But that's an interesting point.
I'm happy to help the way I can.
It's interesting. That phrase you just said is really powerful. More finely tuned. And
yes.
I think that is something that causes angst in Christians who espouse this argument, because they have to admit that it could be better fine-tuned for life.
Yes.
So anyhow,
and even their own lives, not just mine, not me kidding around with you on your show, because we are being serious here, because they're being very serious about that argument. And I think they often can care too much for it, because think of what's at stake with the infrastructure of their religion, their value that they think it has to our society.
mm-hmm.
Those are very real things. And I don't mock anybody for believing in this God or that. If I'm shaman from the Yanomamo Indians, that guy has my respect. I don't know what he knows, and I know his people are depending on him to be right. His cure is to be effective, even if it's just not necessarily the case.
But you don't respect the shaman who says, "Oh no, don't go to the doctor. Instead, let's put some smoke on you to heal your cancer."
The shaman would have that exact cure. The shaman wouldn't say, "Don't go to the doctor." The shaman is the doctor in that environment.
I know.
However, in our society, let's say Benny Hinn. If Benny Hinn says, "Throw your pills up on the stage," he's wrong. He's offering nothing.
But the shaman would be wrong too if he said that, "Oh, you've heard of these doctors in the West who do these things. Forget about them." He'd be wrong too, right?
Now, if he said that, he would. But I would argue, if it's just somebody visiting the village, the people, they've done this study, and I can't remember what it was. The people actually have a belief in what the shaman does, that it has a healing power. So think of it as a psychosomatic healing, as opposed to one that is, there's a medication induced, and then the person feels better because they took a pill.
Yeah. No, I'm just disagreeing with you on the respect part. Like, I wouldn't respect.
Okay.
Like, maybe they're just totally ignorant and don't know better, and so that you would give them a bit of a pass. But if they're making a truth claim that, hey, my holy smoke can heal you better than something medical science is done.
Let's look at that, because as you have seen and your audience has seen in apologetics, the argument often doesn't move on. Someone says something like Plantinga says something 34 years ago, and even though it's wrong, demonstrably wrong, people will still repeat it because they may not ever go back and find another source that refutes it.
What did Plantinga say 34 years ago that's wrong?
Oh, let me give you an example. Like, the Bible is completely without flaws. It has a sense of one author, even though it's been written by over 40 authors over 1,500 years. Blah, 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 blah. No, because Matthew does not write like Zechariah. He cribs from Zechariah, but it's not his style. You could say the same thing for Paul. It's not his style. So I'm a pretty good writer, and I can look at this stuff and I can see what they're doing. I can see why they're doing it. So when I hear that it's the same style, it's laughable to me. I don't laugh, but I see I said to my friend, like, I see the wireframe. You might see the fully rendered image, but I can still see the wireframe when I read it. So to me, it's beautiful in that way, as long as there isn't some minister like Benny Hinn trying to scam somebody. That's when it's dangerous.
This is a bit of an aside, and I'm curious though. May I ask your occupation?
I'm in finance.
Oh,
yes, right up your alley. I know, to some degree.
Can you be more specific?
I can't.
Okay, either can I.
Okay,
but let's just look into each other's eyes, and we'll figure it out. We need that Curb Your Enthusiasm music,
Yeah. I met that guy, and I said, Larry David. I said, a friend of mine is a big fan of your show. He goes, your friend, huh? I mean, I don't know anything about his show, but he's always funny, I would suppose.
You got any last minute advice for me? I'll give you like one more minute. What do you want to give me advice on how to deal with theists?
I'd say borrow from the Christian worldview, which they didn't invent anyway, but take a loving approach. Realize even if the person is belligerent or angry, deal with them, as Jesus would say, be kind to them. And it will be like heaping burning coals on their head, because ultimately to their audience, they're going to look bad. We hear Dillahunty say, I'm really in the debate, I'm focused on the audience, not the person I'm
But don't
debating.
I do that? Like when my critique videos but when I'm talking to theists, I'm a teddy bear, right?
You have to be.
Yeah.
Again, that is a person, and you have a daughter that sees some flack from kids at her school, her peers, and you really feel for your daughter. Like we hear it when you talk about it here and there, and you don't want her to have a dramatic experience as a result of her views. Well, if a theist is loud, angry, irate, they're in the middle of a dramatic experience. You are challenging their worldview. And if the louder they are and the angrier they are, you're probably breaking through it. And imagine that being public. If they're on a video like this, it's public now.
Yeah.
And maybe that hurts. And okay, who's going to see this from my church? Who's going to see this from my business? Who's going to see this in my community? And how do I then come back to them? Because you can be sitting down next to a person and they're asking you about it because they want to build you up. Oh, that guy was completely wrong. But the guy wasn't completely wrong. The guy made sense. And you can't really back up your argument as well as you thought. And now you're sitting with that. And you have to talk to this person who probably loves you and appreciates you. And you're falling apart inside because think of the power of that worldview, that there is a God. I have an aunt who is very religious. She says, I'll pray for you. And I say to her, if you want to petition the proposed creator of the universe to intervene in my life, please go right ahead. I mean, I love that. She's willing to do that for me.
Well, what I say is, please be very specific with your prayers and let me know what it is and write it down on a piece of paper and date it. I try to say that as often as I can so they can look back and see if they're right or wrong.
I would encourage you to have them share that with you and say, okay, about when, give me a timeline. You work in finance. When will we meet our goal?
Yeah.
So I want to show me on paper when this is going to come to fruition, and I will be happy to celebrate with you. Any hits on this list, I'm going to tell you about, because it will bolster their belief and yours. It'll chip away at your disbelief.
But getting back to your advice on how to treat theists, I am quite sure that when I do these call-in things, there are some apologists out there who have their own YouTube channel. I have a feeling a lot of them are watching in real time.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think do you think they are scared about what you're talking about?
Sure. Now think of it. If they're making an income, I think Mike Winger might be doing pretty well financially from his YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, he's making 200,000 right now.
Okay, so if you're chipping into his 200 grand and he's got to teach more guitar lessons to snot-nosed, unappreciative kids, he might sort of be upset about that. I love your interviews with Winger. I think Winger, let's focus on him. I don't want to be unfair to him. I think he's nice. He sounds great. He has a great approach. But as you talk to him and he admits that if God does something, it's not necessarily evil, it is the right course of action. I see that and I'm like, okay, Jesus is drowning children, according to your example. And I had to show that to somebody. And I did like this motion where he's holding, like you see it, and the look on their face, because they don't think of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's, well, they deserved it. Did the children deserve it? No. Again, the audience is reasonable. So as Winger is listening, he is in the audience. He is reasonable. And he too is going through that very same struggle where he has to accept, look, a little bit of this may be true. We see this with James White when he answers a question. I know the full answer, but I'm not going to give it all to you because I don't want you to know that I know. So I'm going to mask the truth with half the truth. And then I'm going to change the subject and answer. So we see them doing this. You and I can spot it. Your audience is savvy. Your audience can spot it. And they know they're doing it. But there's a great portion of the audience that doesn't know and hope to never care. You hear people say it. I don't care if you don't think it's true. I think it's true. And that's what matters to me. You tap their heart because it's precious to them.
Were you always an atheist? Were you raised atheist?
No, I was in the church for a long time as a kid. Then I moved and I got away from it. I got invited to church one day and as an adult, and I said, of course I have to go. I've always had an interest in religion, hang out with Jewish people, go to synagogue, Buddhist temples and stuff. I'm fascinated by what people believe and why. I care more about the person than I do the religion. You know, that person isn't here forever. So what they have to give, or I'm only going to spend so much time with them, and then they're gone. The religion will be here in 1,000 years. Regardless of what it says, it'll still be around. So I became an atheist when I was having a discussion with a friend who said, this is in the Bible. I said, that's not in the Bible. And she goes, oh, yes, it is. She showed me on CD. She showed me in the Bible itself. And she got out an audio tape, a tape, Doug, a tape.
Cassette tape.
She was pretty sure she was right. And I said, I don't know this as well as I thought. So I guess I'll reread the Bible. I started in Genesis. And by the time I got to the Tower of Babel, I was shaking my head. It can't be. This story is a poorly written story that can't be true. And it's short. How can it be bad and short? So what I began to realize is I'm witnessing the power of the priests to sort of watch over their people. It may be the mandate of the king to tell the priests, I want you to come up with a story that will bind us together. And all these bad behaviors like sacrificing our children, let's get rid of that. And what's the best way to do that is to have an all-powerful God who's always on your side and thinking of you. But if you screw up, he will punish you. And all these safeguards, when you reread the Old Testament, you see them. The safeguards are built in so that no matter what happens, it's not that God didn't want to give it to you. It's that Israel got out of line. And so they're going to be enslaved by another group of people. You use the Amalekites example. Joshua kills those Amalekites long after everyone who left Israel, for the most part, is dead. Almost everyone is dead. And then those people are killed. So is that just of God? No.
Well, why didn't you become like a progressive Randall Rouser type Christian who just says, that none of that reflects the nature of the God I know?
I don't know much about Randall Rouser. I have a feeling that when I talk to people about this, I get a quick sense of what it means to them. And again, I'm concerned about the person I'm talking to. They're number one. Doug, when I became an atheist, realizing that there was no God, I became more giving. Whatever I could do for people financially or personally, I was more helpful, not less, because the guy I had been praying to for decades isn't on the job.
So you didn't murder anyone?
Huh?
You didn't murder anyone when you became an atheist?
I avoided pretty much all the vices. I still don't drink, smoke, or do drugs. I have no criminal record. I try to be a fun-loving person.
Frank Turk would say you left Christianity so you could have more coitus.
Now,
look at you're looking up to the left. Okay, we're done here.
He wouldn't be entirely wrong, because I didn't want the guilty feeling. But let's look. I'm not the best looking guy. There, oddly enough, isn't a long line of women looking to sleep with me. No line at the moment. and that's not God's fault or Turk's fault. But I didn't leave it because y'all just want to sin. And I love that expression. Y'all just want to sin. That wasn't it for me. I am no more lawless now than I was when I was a Christian. Again, I'm taking up the mantle. I don't see that there was a Jesus in history. I don't see that there was a God in history. So when I give like a homeless person a $5 bill and they say, God bless you, sometimes I'll say, there isn't a God. That was all me blessing you. And the way they take it, like, what? Why would you give me anything then? And sometimes I say, if there was a God, wouldn't he be doing a better job of looking out for you? Why are you asking me for money?
Yeah, why is God always dependent on human beings, right, to do his work? Human beings,
some would say, that's the Lord using you. My aunt would tell me that. That's just God using you. I'm happy to let her believe that. And if it's true, if there is a God and the God is using me, all the better. So if I get to heaven and I find, oh crap, it's judgment day, instead of asking for a snowball to run the test in hell to see if it really melts fast, I can ask for mercy. Like, look, remember all that good stuff you used me to do? You recall using me for any bad stuff? And I didn't do much bad stuff on my own as an adult, right? I was a bit of a screw up at times as a kid, but as an adult, no.
But just the slightest tinge of bad thoughts is just horrible to God. Like you're making you sound like a Muslim right now.
I don't know that much about Islam, but in the Old Testament, Jesus is credited with saying, "Oh, don't even think about sinning because it's as if you had sinned." That's actually a commandment from the Old Testament that he's just rehashing, because when the writers sat down to write about Jesus, they just came up with a laundry list of quotes and sayings and things from the Old Testament to repeat when they were writing the New Testament. But since it's new, it's better, as you would tell us. It's better because it's new.
Yes.
But yeah, okay, so I do sound like this group. I watched a video where you had Kwaku, a Muslim guy, and two other guys all talking about their religions. You did another one where people were talking about recovery. The guy became a Muslim, another guy became a Christian. Those kind of comparisons are gold because people need to see, there's a universality here. And that universality is, I have decided to change my life for the better. And that's really, no matter what you believe, audience, that's really, no matter how good your life is, that's really awesome when you do that, because you're going to inspire other people, you're going to help other people, and you're going to grow. And what else are you here for?
You sound like you need to start your own YouTube channel, or have you already?
I need to get around to it. I do like your model. I would just copy off everything you do. But hey, that's the mark of excellence for you. I'm telling you, that's the mark of excellence.
Well, I've made a lot of mistakes. So especially when you live stream, like, you're going to make mistakes. If you pre-record
I'm sure I'll make mistakes. I'm human. And for this internet business, I don't know my way around it at all. But it's very important. I want you to understand there are a lot of us who are watching you, and we appreciate you. And we know the importance of what you're doing. So you're going to have some technical hiccups and things like that kind of make it not fun. You're going to have a bad conversation here and there. But ultimately, we appreciate you. We really do. And you do a fine show. I get excited when I see the little notification. Okay, don't tear up. There you go. That's okay. Take your time. As they say in the church, your wife might have heard it. Take your time. Take your time.
Preach it.
Preach it. Come on, brother. I was one of those people saying that.
Oh, wow.
But again, you do a great job. And there are people who will never call in, who are sitting there and they are relieved at a lot of your broadcasts when they see that, okay, I'm not the only one. I'm not alone. There must be thousands of people like me. I'll get through this. Let me go look at that deep catalog that PineCreek has. And maybe there's some things that really speak to where I am in my life right now as I exit religion or as I doubt my religion. Because there will be people who will see something that is edifying and makes them believe more. I don't think that's most people. I think the fight goes on in their brain. They don't do what I did. They don't pick up the Bible from the beginning and read about the talking snake and the flaming sword. I mean, it just starts like anime. That's in chapter 1 and 2, creating, hey, in 5 days, he created the earth, but the rest of the universe in a day. What's with all the fuss? If you can just poof it, why not do that? I mean,
and this ties us back to the fine-tuning argument that what we started with. It was perfect. It to me, it would be more expected that the creator of the universe would, if he really created the universe for us, why wait 13 billion years again? Like in our frame of reference, 13 billion years? Really?
And look, why I wanted to give this example. If I had a YouTube channel, I would offer this example. At my house, I keep a garden. I planted tomatoes, I planted watermelon, I planted cantaloupe and several other things. Some of the seeds I planted never grew. But what really took off was the tomatoes. And I gave some to my tenants and my neighbors. There were so many. So that tomato bush, with virtually no help from me, thrived. There are other things I had to fertilize, give extra water to, and they still failed because my soil wasn't right for them. There were some things I utterly ignored and they withered. This is sort of the metaphor for the Christian God. We're all here in the garden. Some thrive with little to no attention from this God. Some get a lot of attention and they still fail. And some just get ignored and they wither. I think that there, of course, I don't have a belief that there is a God. I'm one of those atheists that says, I don't think there is a God. And they can light a napkin on fire and prove it if there is. Hey, just send a little fire down. You know, you can heat this up for me, right? Look, I got a microwave here that'll do it. So
that reminds me, I need to get my matches out. That reminds me, I need to get my matches out in case some theists
get your matches out.
Yeah.
So when it comes to people of faith and they're watching your program, they can look at that example. Is God giving me a lot of attention? Is God giving me no attention, yet I'm still thriving? Or am I withering here because God is ignoring me? Now, in any of those scenarios, you sort of don't need a God around. It's as if there wasn't one. If you're not getting what you ask for when you pray, and you're not constantly part of a world that is improving at a dramatic rate as you invest in your faith, maybe it isn't the work of a God at all. Maybe there's a lot of indifference in nature, in chance that are at play. And maybe it's how hard you work and bust your butt that really makes the difference.
Yeah. Is there a first name that I should call you, or do you want me to just call you my one black friend?
I thought about this a while. You can call me Mr. Friend if you must.
I like your full name, really.
Yeah, just say my one black friend. That's completely intentional because I long to hear William Lane Craig say, the atheist, my one black friend here, misunderstands my point. I long for the day when I get a mention from William Lane Craig, and most Christians have no idea who that is.
Yeah, I agree. I learned that the hard way. I thought just everybody knew that, but they don't. But anyhow, thank you, my friend, my one black friend, for coming on. I got a couple of people waiting here, so.
Please, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for the kind words. Appreciate it.
You're most welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, Jesse. Hi, Jesse.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Are you calling in as a theist?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Maybe you can help me with some things. Did you hear the conversation that I had with my one black friend about fine-tuning?
That's my one black friend too, and and it's interesting. I've listened to a number of your podcasts and live streams, and I want to thank you because you're doing the work of the Lord right now, and so is my one black friend and countless others, and you guys don't even realize it. And it's letting you in on a little secret that you guys are doing a great, phenomenal job in everything and all the.
Can you be more specific?
You guys are putting out.
What exactly am I doing to help the Lord?
Well, we are aligned a lot in the fact that you're helping people who can't really explain their Christianity and their Christian faith, and you're getting them to see holes in their own theology, and that's helping them because ultimately we got to look at faith as more like our citizenship. I don't know where you're based out of. Are you here in the U.S.?
I'm in Arizona.
Arizona, exactly. So what do you do to show that you're American, right? Like what how do we show that we're American if we're born on this soil?
Sing the national anthem, pledge allegiance to the flag.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you think about America as like a religion itself, right? I mean, you got music, you got anthems, you got flags, you got donations,
apple pie,
you got taxes, you got
baseball,
you got apple pie, you got good music, right? But no, I mean, honestly, when I see your show, I'm enthusiastic about where people are at right now and the fact that they're questioning their faith because biblically speaking, man, I mean, if you really dig into the Bible as a theist, we'll see that it's not about aggregating anyone to any one religion. And religion as itself is a big, huge failure globally. I mean, it's definitely caused a lot of wars and a lot of
I don't mean
strife
to I don't want to insult you because you seem like a very nice guy, but I need to ask, what kind of Christian are you?
Well, I mean, the distinctions are important, PineCreek, and I think this is where my secret for you is that you're going to help a lot of people transition into getting into their Bible and understanding themselves as a citizen of heaven, first and foremost, and knowing that they're a part of a much bigger government. And the paradox is that while a lot of you and I and people around the globe are leaning on their governments for help and support, and they think that if they can get the one party in play, they can actually improve their lives, they're constantly seeking government to make sure that they can get that support. But the actual government that they're looking for and seeking is God's government, His kingdom government, and that's the root of the Bible. And if we really pick apart the silver lining and the narrative of Genesis all the way to what Jesus did, it was all about a coming kingdom and a government on His shoulders, Isaiah 9:6, and to the increase in peace of that government there shall be no end. And so, by you taking people off their Christian horses and their other horses that are out there, we're trying to set these people on the ground, on the earth, on the planet, that they are citizens of heaven, and they're here to extend and bring about a culture on earth that's representative of His kingdom.
But what is Christianity to you? Like, what is it? Just this idea?
It's another religion.
So, do you call yourself a Christian?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I don't mind someone calling me a Christian because, I profess Christ as Lord. I mean, really break it down, that's, I have Christ living inside of me. I have the Holy Spirit abiding in me, and that's my connector. That's the governor of heaven.
What's the core difference between you and me, spirituality-wise? Like, I don't believe a man rose from the dead 2,000 years ago. Do you?
I do.
Okay. And do you believe in the concepts of heaven and hell like most Christians do?
I mean, no, not to that. Not to. No, I would probably, if we really sat down face to face, we'd probably differ with a lot of people in the opinions of heaven and hell.
But is there
and what people?
Would you say there is a reason, or you have a desire that I be more like you in your beliefs?
What I have? Yeah, sure. I would share the beliefs I have, and I would share the truths that are found in the Bible. And like my one black friend, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's sad. It's unfortunate, but it's true that a lot of people we come in contact with are questioning their faith. And, I mean, they have a lot of questions and they don't get answers at church. Sadly, they don't.
So how would you answer this question for me? Why should I be a Christian? I
would argue you shouldn't be a Christian.
I should not?
I would tell you, I would tell you, you should desire to be a son of God.
Okay,
You
why
should desire to be a citizen of heaven.
Why should I be a citizen of heaven?
Because there's rights and privileges of being a citizen of a kingdom that is unseen here on earth. There's
like what?
actual...
What privileges and rights do I get?
Well, I mean, a lot of the joy, peace, and love that I have and experience in my life stems from the fact that I know I'm eternal, that I know this life is finite, and I know that I have eternity in front of me. So my future is eternal. So, tomorrow's not promised to any one of us, but I can live the day full of joy, full of peace, and full of happiness, knowing that, the volatility of life, finances, and all these other things, ups and downs, life, death, and all these other things, people suffering and people, quite honestly, enjoying their best life today.
So what would you say to a guy like me who does not find eternity to be desirous? Like, I don't want to live forever. I'm being sincere. I don't.
Well, I would say, why don't you want to live forever?
It frightens me. The idea of just eternal existence with no way out. I mean, it's like, as Hitchens said, it's like
no way out.
Yeah, it's like being at a party and you're told at this great party you have fun for the first few hours, and then it's like the party goes on for the next few days, and finally you just want to say, I just want the party to stop. Have you never met people who say things like this?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, Doug. Did you enjoy your day today?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Do you love your life today?
Yeah, pretty good. Can't complain.
Yeah, you have family, right? You have a child?
Two
children. Oh, I got 3 myself. Cool.
And a dog and one wife. I got rid of the other 2 wives. Cool. I'm down to 1.
So your family as you have it today and living today, you're saying to me that you wouldn't want to hold on to what you have today forever?
No.
No?
No.
And why is that?
I just think the concept of living forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, even with your family, I think if it's anything like me and you talking right now, at some point it would have to get dull. It would have to get tiresome. Now, if it's not like anything we have today, then is it really me up there or wherever heaven is or the citizenship is? Like, is it an avatar of me? Is it just like, do you believe in this citizenship of heaven that you will have faults and struggles to overcome?
Well, I don't know your backstory very well, but did you grow up in the church, or did you grow up following any Christian traditions or Christianity as a whole?
Yeah, I grew up in church.
I'll give you a thought, and you can take it for what it's worth. And we go back to Genesis, and you have you might appreciate this if you enjoy math a little bit, but you have in the garden, obviously, God creating Adam and Eve. Mm-hmm. And then he tells Adam, he creates him in his image and his likeness so that he would rule over the fish, the sea, the birds of the air, and everything that creep upon the ground. So this rulership and this dominion that he would experience here on earth with Eve, they would expand and they would grow, sort of like colonizing. It would be called a kingdom colonization factor, right? So let's just pretend like the fall never occurred. Let's just pretend like sin never entered. If we go on to the Genesis story, mm-hmm. Mathematically, we would come to a point, because in Genesis, in the Garden of Eden, there was no death. Death was activated by their rebellion. So if there's no death and Adam and Eve were eternal, mm-hmm. most Christians would tell you that Adam and Eve are eternal, and I believe they were eternal. They activated death. That's the
God would have had to made a new planet by now to house all the people if there's reproduction and coitus.
Well, would he have? Because how many planets existed when he created Adam and Eve?
Oh, that's a good question. If you ask a young Earth creationist, they'd say 1. But I don't know.
There was a sun, right? So there was a sun that needed to light up. There was a moon, so therefore there was the Milky Way. If there was the Milky Way, we could presume that there was galaxies, right? We could presume that there were other things balanced out. And the Bible refers to God naming the stars. So at the end of the day, here's something that I pose to people, and even Christians and other people, is that if the story went the way God intended it to go, and their sin never entered the earth, mathematically there'd be a point where either the earth would have to grow, like a rock that grew. Bible does refer to a rock that grows, but that's Christ, and that was in Daniel. Or we would have had to have extended beyond, God created us from an unseen realm to a physical realm. So if you think about it this way, the moment that he created the physical with all the thousands of galaxies, billions of galaxies, that in essence was under the purview of man and the extension of his kingdom, the extension of colonizing and growing. And if we can see ourselves, we just landed on Mars today, right? Or we just landed a rover on Mars today. We can do this in a finite.
I gotta interrupt you, Jesse, because I'm still not finding what we're talking about here is about my disdain for living forever and ever. How is this helping me?
Oh, because here's the thing. The question is that if you were to presume that what I was just going off on this tangent was, if you had a purpose to extend life, beyond what you assume it to be now, and your role of, colonizing other planets or extending the culture of heaven to other places beyond what you can see, your own planet, or who knows what.
Okay, I see where you're going now. You're saying that this afterlife concept or the citizenship of heaven, I might have a purpose where I have a job to do and that will keep me interested, like I could colonize other planets?
Yeah, why not? Would that interest you?
Would I get my own spaceship?
There's infinite amount of, think about it. There's like 7 billion people on the planet now. How many trillions of galaxies are there right now? Or,
would I be able to create my own planet?
Why not? Well, if you could, would you want to live forever?
Well, you're enticing me now. I'm serious. You're enticing me. You're saying I can be a god, right?
Well, the Bible, but Jesus said we're little gods.
You're right.
It's in Psalms. So
many Christians don't even know that, but you know that. So now we got the bigger question. You actually have been successful in enticing me, but now the bigger question is any of this true? So how do we figure that one out?
Well, it can't be disproven biblically. You can't disprove this that this is a. We have verses, because I enjoy some of the things that you say, Christians say about certain things. But one thing we do know that's for certain is that, whatever it is that we can think of, the Bible says that greater are the plans for us than what we can even imagine. So the fact you mentioned Avatar, that's something that we can imagine.
But how do we figure out,
James Cameron?
But how do we figure out if any of what we're talking about right now, of me and you dying and getting to be citizens of heaven and having a purpose of creating even planets and so forth, how do we figure out, why should I be convinced? How could I be convinced that any of this is true?
Oh, in Genesis, we started off in the Garden of Eden, and we were eternal, and we were. But how do we know
Genesis is reflecting reality?
Well, the reason why I would say, if I was trying to entice you to the biblical standard of what's in your future, is that the Bible starts on earth, man on earth. It ends in Revelations with man on earth, and we are kings and lords.
But couldn't all that just be a story? Maybe a way for human beings to make sense of the world around them. Maybe there's some benefit to them to have order and so forth. There's many religions who have stories. How do we figure out if this story is true?
That is one of the questions around faith and belief, and how it is we have faith and belief. And that goes back. That is the reason why faith is really a dominant force for anyone's faith and religion that they're following. And that's the tricky question, because no one can disprove you, and you have a hard time, proving yourself. Mm-hmm. But I would say that from a Bible standpoint, it's amazing to see that over thousands of years. Right now, the Bible started off with God speaking, and then everything came into existence. And here, right now, I can ask, Alexa, and I can start speaking. I can turn on my lights. Oh, my Alexa just kicked on right now. Mankind, we're naturally following, and technology is following Genesis 1 right now. What do you do? If you had Alexa, you say, Alexa, turn on my lights, turn it off. We're following our sound, just like God. Oh, my Alexa's gone.
Alexa's talking to you. It's God talking to you.
Alexa's talking to you. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, someone should rename. I was I told my friend someone should rename Alexa and call it Hey Jesus. Hey Jesus, what's the weather like tomorrow? Oh, the weather is 67 degrees outside. Anyways.
But I'm still
not
not hearing like, what makes you think the Bible is that in any way reflecting reality? Like, why do you believe there's a God to begin with? Why do you believe Jesus Christ rose from the dead? Why don't we start with that one? Why do you believe Jesus rose from the dead and is, let's say, God incarnate? Do you believe that he's God in flesh, or no?
Yeah, absolutely, I do. Yeah,
Okay, why do you believe that?
Well, I mean, you reference what's his name, the guy who wrote The Case for Christ. He did a good job. I read that book. Yeah, exactly. Lee Strobel did a good job of like breaking down the history behind that, and how, like, the Gospels aren't synoptics perfectly, because if they were perfectly, if every book was exactly perfect match, it's not a good witness. Every witness testimony varies, and that's how you can tell that it's credible. And the fact that you do have texts that go back that far, I mean, you have to really get theological.
Does the age of a text make it more likely to be true, what it purports?
Yeah, sure, it could and it would, but like that, then you throw off all world history, because it gets to a point, world history goes to a certain point where mankind wasn't writing anything down. They'd have the technology to write stuff down. I do find what's interesting is that in 70 AD, the temple was destroyed, and there's like statues in Europe right now that depict how, the Roman Empire, they like pillaged the temple. They took all this.
Hey, Jesse, can we stay focused on
one of the things that,
because this is the real issue. This is really important, because you were successful in enticing me into the concept of an afterlife, but now we got to figure out if it's true. And you believe that Jesus Christ rose from the dead. And is it fair to say you believe it because the Bible says so?
Yes. I mean, I guess I can say that to a large extent, because of what was prophesied for so many years in the literature that was preserved.
Okay.
Up until the time, the Roman Empire times. And obviously Christ came during the Roman Empire.
Have you heard my thought experiment about the flying man before?
What was that? I'm not familiar with that.
So imagine me and you are walking in the woods, and you're telling me about all this great stuff about eternal life, and we stumble upon a book that's underneath some leaves. It's halfway buried. We unbury it, we lift it up, and you and I open up the book to a random page, and on that page it said that 1,000 years ago, a man ran off the north rim of the Grand Canyon in Arizona and started flying. I mean, unaided, just flew. Now, I would look at you and I'd say, oh, this is a book of fiction. What would you say? Would you agree with me or disagree with me? Based on that, that's all we've read so far.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough.
Is it tough?
I'd have to think. Yeah, it's tough, because I mean, what year is it right now? Right, we're in 2021, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, we have so many things universally that are centered around a character, Christ, this individual who made a global impact.
We're not worried about Christ at this point. We're just having a good day, good walk in the woods, and we stumble on this book, and we open up a random page, and it says that this man ran off a cliff and just started flying. Now, here's my question to you. What your internal being, what you think, feel, emote, whatever you want to call it, would you tend to say that this leans towards fiction, or would you tend to say this leans toward history?
I would probably lean with fiction, because I've never seen
Me too.
I've never seen someone fly.
Me too. Okay. And what if we flip the page and it said that this man flew, and he flew in front of 500 people, 12 of his best friends, and finally to the author of the book? I would still look at you and I say, yeah, it's still fiction, right? There's no reason to think it's history at this point, right?
Sure.
Okay. And what if we keep flipping and there's a chapter called Mark, and it talks about all the miracles this flying man did, And then we flip to a different chapter. It talks about Matthew. And this flying man even claimed to be God. And we flip to another chapter called John. And it talks about, it's amazing things this guy did. He was the bread of life, this flying man. And he was crucified. And he rose again. He even raised other people up from the dead. I would still look at you and I'd say, hey, Jesse, this is still fiction. No reason to think this is historical. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably lean still honestly with fiction, of course.
Okay, so now why do you think the Bible is reflecting something real, reality, real historical things? If you didn't do it with the flying man, why with Jesus?
That's a good question. I think it's because of the additional historical text we have surrounding. You have writings of Josephus. You have the writings of, I think it was Tacitus. You have writings of individuals who have no benefit of really trying to documenting what's happening here.
Okay, that's a great point that you bring up, Jesse. But I think you can see where this is going, and I could say that we continue along on our trail in the woods, and we stumble upon another book, and it's from a guy who actually purports to be a historian, and he's talking about the life and ministry of the flying man, that he really existed, and this person Josephus writes that he had followers, he purported to do all these miracles. Now I would look at you and I would say, oh, here's a historian just talking about what the followers of the flying man believed. But I still view that as fiction. He's just reporting what these people believed at the time. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but here's how you would have to start incorporating and adding something to your analogy. And that is, if you started to say that this person who wrote down this, we turned the page and it said, it started giving us life applications. It started saying things like, hey, if you add this into your daily regimen, drink water and, X, Y, Z, and try these things out for yourselves, for your betterment, to improve yourselves. And I started to follow along, and I said, okay, sure, I'll follow along with this to see how this impacts my life. I'll apply these wisdom principles in how I deal in my relationships with my wife, kids, and others, and I'll follow along with there. And if I get results from what's there, then it starts to lend credibility to what I'm reading now. Mm-hmm. So now, if I'm getting results from that, then I say, you know what? Hey, I'm starting to think this guy flew possibly. Or
well,
flying is
that's possible. That's a great point you're making, because I'm a very practical guy, and you're appealing to my sense of practicality, saying, hey, this is working. But when I hear what you're saying, and I don't know why, the thought of Tom Cruise popped in my head, because he's a Scientologist. Now, I don't think the core claims of Scientology is true. I hope you don't either, but maybe you do. But if you look at Tom Cruise's life, he has been famous at a very early age. I think he was 18 when his first movie came out. And he's had one of the longest careers, one of the most famous people in the world. And he still seems pretty stable to me. I mean, he's had a couple of divorces, but you look at people like, what's his name? That Sheen guy from 2.5 Men. Like, that guy went nuts. But Tom Cruise kept it fairly together. And I'd bet 1,000 pine points that he would attribute it to his belief in Scientology. So just the fact that it worked for him doesn't necessarily mean Scientology is true, right?
I would have to interject and say, I don't think people look at Tom Cruise right now and say, man, that's the life I want to have. I mean, from Nicole Kidman.
I wouldn't mind a little bit of it. We would like a little bit of it.
I mean, like
private jets.
Was it Nicole Kidman, and what's the other girl? He was married to another very beautiful actress. But it's like these women obviously didn't see enough attraction there and they didn't experience what he experienced, and they lived with him.
Well, they probably left him because of the crazy Scientology beliefs, is my guess. But
there you go. So hey, I mean, to me that.
But you get my point, right?
Right.
You get
I get your point, but yeah. So
just because something works doesn't mean that the core propositions that the person believes are true.
I didn't say I believe the guy still flew. I started asking questions. I thought maybe it's possible.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, you said that.
So then again, that's.
But I would even.
So then that's kind of how I would.
I would even back up and steel man you and say, just because it works for the followers of the flying man, I would say that doesn't mean it's more likely to be true that the man flew. I would go that far. Would you agree with me?
I probably would be along the line with you. I would say that I question things quite a bit, and I'd probably be in lockstep with you somewhat in that.
Okay, so since we're so much agreed here, I'm a little perplexed on why you still believe a man rose from the dead, because the Bible said so.
Well, no, because you add in my experiences. You add in the things that I've experienced firsthand, and then also
can we talk about that briefly?
Sure.
So what have you experienced firsthand that makes you believe that Jesus Christ rose from the dead?
If we're speaking of just my full-on faith in what I believe in, applying the truths and applying the principles that I found in the Bible as a whole into my life, I've definitely come 180 from the type of person that I was before being introduced to the Word of God, being introduced to the Bible, and being.
Can I ask what type of person you were before? Because I get a good sense of what you are now, but what kind of person were you before?
Man, I at a young age, I sold drugs. I did all kinds of crazy stuff. Probably should have ended up dead. Knew people that were gang affiliated. Just driven by a lot of fleshly desires from this world, and I think that my life could have went a whole nother direction. Thankfully I never got put in jail or locked up.
How long were you doing this sort of thing in your life? Up to what age?
From the time I was about 11, 12,
Whoa, that young?
Community. Well, the community I grew up in and the music I surrounded myself with had me looking up to individuals that I shouldn't have looked up to. Certain lifestyles that I shouldn't have respected, but because of driven by money, finance, and earning money a certain way. Kids. Honestly, kids in a lot of places, even to this day, look up to I would say pimps, the culture of pimps and being a boss, and another culture of just
But you were in this really horrible lifestyle when starting at 12. At what age did you get out of it?
It took a while for me to pull myself out from contacts with people. When I was around 20.
Okay. And was that the same time? Was that around the same time you have the beliefs you have now about God and citizenship of heaven and that sort of thing?
No. Actually, I became initially fairly religious in that sense, and I sought Christianity out, and Christianity had its tie around me from family and extended family through a young age. So I was in and around through church settings growing up, but nothing like stable, but just had a general sense of what was being told to me, and I pursued other religions and I pursued other things, and because I just questioned things, and so by the time I was 20, I definitely pursued Christianity a lot more. Did you notice what you said? You said you pulled yourself out. Yeah.
Okay. So what does a God or a deity or your current beliefs have does this play a part in why you believe then, or?
No, it plays a part. Christianity didn't have the answers that I was looking for, and I didn't feel the sense of satisfaction or feeling of I felt like something was still missing.
So it's like a stepping stone for you.
Yeah, you have a lot of Christians right now watching, I guarantee you, that go to church every week and they read their Bible off and on, but they just don't really get it fully. They don't know where things start out at in Genesis. They don't know how things end in Revelations. People think there's going to be this rapture soon and all kinds of crazy things that are sold to people. in that denomination of Christianity, which there's thousands of them, but there are just a lot of questions they still have. They question their faith still, and I relate it to Jesus's parable of a man seeking out a treasure or a pearl of great price, and then when he finds it, he's willing to sell everything.
But what's the experience? What's the experience that you had? Because this is the reason why you believe. Because we kind of have. I won't be harsh and say that we're going to ignore the Bible, but we kind of put it on the shelf for now because of the Flying Man thought experiment. What is the personal experience that you had that makes you think that your current beliefs are true?
It's a collection of experiences, but my pursuit for truth, my pursuit for meaning, led me to the Bible, and the reason why I believe the Bible is the source of my faith, and what I believe in is because it's telling a very vivid picture and story that I resonate with. I feel it in my spirit.
Sorry to interrupt, but in your opinion, are there false religions out there in the world?
I think all religion is false. All religion is false. No religion there's
okay.
Not one religion on this planet right now that is the religion.
Okay, let's pick a religion. Yeah. Let's pick Mormonism. Is that all right?
Correct. Okay.
Okay, so you would say Mormonism is false?
I would say to a Mormon, lose Mormonism and pursue God's kingdom.
Okay, but let's say someone believes in the core propositions of Mormonism, and you ask them why, and they say because they were seeking truth, and that they came from a bad past, and they fooled around with religion a little bit, and like Christianity or whatever, it was like a stepping stone, but they kept seeking truth, and they ended up believing in the core propositions of the LDS Church. And maybe they don't even call Mormonism a religion. They call it, that's a religion. But what I believe is it's very similar to Mormonism, but it's more than that. It's a relationship with God and so forth. So my question to you is, based on those personal experiences of this individual, would you say that the core beliefs are true?
I get where you're going with this. Yeah, I mean, my quick knee-jerk response would be yes. I would definitely. The root of their beliefs starts in the Bible. So I mean, they venture off obviously with Joseph Smith and these stones and these other things.
But remember, we're putting the Bible on the shelf because of the Flying Man thought experiment.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's really hard to do that when you're talking about Mormonism, right? Because
okay, I can make it simple for you. Let's talk about Hinduism. We got a person who believes in the core propositions of the Vedas. They believe Vishnu or Ganesh is the top god. They are very pluralistic, though, and they're very welcoming of other religions and so forth. But they truly believe that Vishnu is the creator god. And I think I would say that I don't believe what they are saying is true, and I think you agree with me.
I agree.
Okay. But then I asked them, why do they believe this? And I asked the same questions I just asked you. Like, they say the same things you said, right? They came from a bad past. Vishnu, they had the stepping stone. Were involved in the religion a little bit, but they eventually, because of their seeking of the truth, they found and came to believe that Vishnu is real, the real God, and that they can have eternal life with this God. And they even view Vishnu as a personal God even. Would you say that those personal experiences of that person was a good way to say, hey, Vishnu's real?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I would.
Okay, if you wouldn't for the person who I'm describing as you, why do you say it for yourself?
Yeah, I would say it because of it does go back to Christ, and it goes back to his resurrection, and it goes back to
the Bible,
the core beliefs of Christ being the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, and the one who brings redemption, allows me to have connection with my country, which would be heaven, and my citizenship of heaven. And so that's how I'm able to be born again into this country of heaven and being a citizen here on earth. I mean, it's very practical and simple in any other term. I mean, we it's more like how things are now. I mean, you're American because you're born on American soil. you're you're a citizen of heaven because you're born again of the Spirit. And Christ modeled that. And I think the impact that Jesus Christ had on this planet there's no question. I think C.K. Lewis did a skit on this, and it was pretty hilarious. But it was like, Jesus Christ and Christianity, even though I'm not promoting Christianity, they got this thing, they won. Like it's 2021. Well, he did. I don't know if you ever seen that skit, C.K. Lewis skit.
Hey, I want to wrap this.
You got to watch it.
I want to wrap this up though. I was going to ask a favor of you, but what was the favor I was going to ask you? I was going to ask you to watch this back, and I'm sure it's still fresh in your memory. But watch it back, like maybe a day or two from now. I will too. And I guess my last question for you would be, if you became like me, let's say 5 years from now, meaning that you just sincerely don't believe any of this is true, would your life change at all? I mean, do you think you would go back to that old life you had when you were a teenager, or no?
No, never.
Or what do you think you would actually lose if you became a person like me?
What would I lose?
Yeah.
I'd have to start asking you a lot of questions, right? I'd have to figure out,
like if you became I'll make it simple. You just became an atheist, like who you don't know the life of the atheist or whatever, but you just don't believe in a God, a supernatural realm even. Would that change your life in a significant way? Like, would you, I don't know. Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, I understand what you're asking. Yeah, it would change my life drastically. I mean, it would change it would change the foundation of, the definition of all things that I interpret right now. I mean, it would just
like very specifically or practically, what would change?
I would have to, honestly, I'd probably have to think about this for a little bit more to give you like a more laid out understanding. But if you said, hey, you know what, I can't separate myself from that identity. I mean, it's one of those things where I found everything I was looking for, and I feel joy. I feel complete. I feel happiness.
That's actually not a bad way to end it. You felt joy, completeness, peace. I'll wait a little bit, see if he comes back, but Jesse, if you can still hear me through YouTube, we lost you. But I think that's a good place to end. Wow, that was a very good and interesting conversation. I mean, Jesse was as honest as they come in a way. I mean, I disagree with his core beliefs, but with the flying man, he answered, I mean, just the same way I would. And the outsider test for faith, but you notice that even after he and I agreed on so much, I think right at the end when God cut him off, when he was cut off by the internet, I think that's the real reason, right? Hope, meaning, and purpose. Peace, joy. In fact, that's what my one black friend was talking about too. This is what the belief gives people. And who am I to take it away? Right? But I enjoy trying. My one black friend's not going to like that comment. But here's the point. Let me save myself here. I think the joy, the peace, the marvel of life, the energy of wanting to get up in the morning and try new things, giving your loved ones a hug, knowing that it might be the last. I have that, and I don't believe in a God. And Jesse, if you're still listening, I'm saying that if you leave your current belief system, I'm just here to let you know that you don't necessarily have to lose all the things that you value. For goodness sakes, people have hope, meaning, and purpose on false beliefs, right? There's a lot of Hindus in the world which you agreed were not true, the core propositions. And they still have hope, meaning, and purpose. So if you can have hope, meaning, and purpose in a false God belief, why can't you have hope, meaning, and purpose in no God belief? Riddle me that, Christians. Sorry, I shouldn't pick on the Christians. Bad of me. Those were two great conversations with an atheist and a non-Christian Christian. I don't know what to call you, Jesse. I was suspecting you were Mormon when you said I could create my own planet. And so that's why I brought up Mormonism. And so a part of me thinks you align with Mormonism a little bit, but maybe not. I don't know. Where's Frank Turek? I think we don't need no stinking Frank Turek when we got great conversations like this. But I think Jesse has encouraged me to spend some more time with the ones I love, my wife and my kids, for the remainder of the evening. But I'll let the music play off for 2 more minutes, 3 minutes, and I'll focus on the chat. Thank you, Kent. Good question, Mental Sawdust. If you could put anything you want in the Flying Man book, is there any textual that you could imagine that would convince you? No, it'd be pretty hard. I would lean no. For that type of claim, I don't think textual evidence is sufficient. The closest I've come to is agreeing with my friend Camille, who said if there was a copy of that book dated to a time and at a place where it had been next to impossible. In other words, it would take a miracle to even have the text itself in 2 separate parts in the world before there was the technology to transport it there, preserved, carbon dated, then maybe. So you don't love us. Don't make me choose the son of karma. Did I see Aussie Jesus on Myth Vision? No, I missed it. I'll look at that tomorrow maybe. How's the weather in Arizona? It's beautiful. What bothers PineCreek? Bloviating Christians? Did you subscribe to HBO Max? Yes, I did. Recently. I used to be an HBO subscriber. Why do you ask? Bad hair day? Yeah. Well, it was a good hair day this morning, but then I did stuff. Does it look that bad? No apologies tonight. My thanks to Jesse for being on the hot seat. And I want to thank my one black friend for joining me tonight. Have a good evening.